Here we are, the 10th and final part of my Jimi Hendrix series. What started as an impromptu jam during a run of Easy Rider in late January of 1970 became a fascinating tangle of music pulled from 3 different sources. This song, if you want to see it as a single one, was edited together by producer John Jansen for inclusion in one of Jimi's posthumous releases, and later picked up by Alan Douglas when he was tasked with producing future Hendrix releases. Unaware of Jansen's editing, Douglas overdubbed the drum parts of the original recording and relabeled it as Captain Coconut, infamously giving himself a co-songwriter credit. Of the 3 separate recordings that were stitched together, the middle section is where the mysterious MLK labeling comes from. Apparently the letters were merely scrawlings written on the tape box and have no hidden meaning. In all likelihood, this might have not surfaced as a separate song had Jimi lived to complete the next album and more. But given that quite a number of his songs sprung from simple improvisations amid recording sessions for other pieces, who knows? The 3rd segment is actually the October 1968 early attempt at New Rising Sun that Jimi recorded solo, while the first brief segment is still unidentified to this day, although it sounds similar to both the bolero intro to Hey Baby New Rising Sun and the untitled bit of improvisation Jimi performed at Woodstock after playing Purple Haze. While the bizarre composite put together was obviously not a contender for the next album in and of itself, it does showcase some more of the creative outpouring coming from Jimi during these sessions. Appearing as early as April 1969 in studio sessions, Villanova Junction Blues would sporadically show up over the following year, even being included as part of the set at Woodstock. This slow, melancholy piece may or may not have been planned to be included on the next studio album. Several versions have been released in the official catalog on the album's Morning Symphony Ideas, Burning Desire, People, Hell, and Angels, and of course, Live at Woodstock. With the title merely taken from its tape box, Jam 292 was recorded in a series of takes in May 1969 and was never revisited. The song features guitar work inspired by blues musicians Freddie and Albert King. While it's possible Jimi may have intended to revisit this song at some point in the future, it was recorded fairly early in what I like to see as the time frame of this unfinished album's development. 2 released versions have been put out. The first, originally included on the Loose Ends compilation in the mid-70s, was reissued in higher sound quality on the official bootleg Hear My Music. Another one, retitled Jelly 292, was released on the Blues compilation of the mid-90s. Inspired heavily by the playing of blues band guitar Slim, Jimi began work on Once I Had a Woman in January 1970 with the Band of Gypsies lineup and an unidentified harmonica player. Unfortunately, the song was set aside after a few takes and was never revisited before Jimi's death later that September. Producer Alan Douglas took one of the recorded takes from that January session and included it on the controversial album Midnight Lightning, replacing Buddy Miles' drums and Billy Cox's bass parts with overdubs played by session musicians that Jimi had never worked with, as well as harmonica and backing vocal parts. While this recording is not resurfaced in its original restored format, another take was included on 1994's Blues compilation. Given the raw, barely lyrical nature of the song, it's unlikely Jimi was planning to include it on his next studio album. Despite its inclusion on The Cry of Love, the first posthumous compilation of Hendrix material, My Friend was more than likely not going to be included on his next studio album. Mostly this is owing to it being an outtake from the Electric Ladyland album, and not having been reworked afterwards. However, its inclusion on The Cry of Love was largely due to its popularity among Hendrix associates. Despite being revisited in August of 1970, Power of Soul was unlikely to be included on Jimi's next studio album. Unlike some of the other pieces recorded, Power of Soul has had a very limited release history. A recording from January 1970 has been the basis for the released versions of the song in the official catalog. It was infamously edited down heavily and overdubbed by producer Alan Douglas and included on the Crash Landing album. One restored cut appears on the South Saturn Delta album, and a longer version is on Both Sides of the Sky. Developed out of a string of demos that also yielded Valleys of Neptune in February 1969, Message of Love spent time under the working title of Message to the Universe. An early demo from May 1969, included on the interestingly mistitled Nine to the Universe album in 1980, also gave rise to the song Earth Blues. Message to the Universe was performed at Woodstock as a warm-up piece for Jimmy's band, Gypsy Sun and Rainbows. Studio recording attempts were done by the lineup afterwards, but the song's structure would be streamlined further later that year by the Band of Gypsy's power trio. A specific studio recording from December 1969 has been released in several different versions. The first was doctored by producer Alan Douglas for the mid-70s Crash Landing album, and omitted part of the song's midsection. A restored cut of this recording was included on the Experience box set in 2000, and an edit that included the removed middle part was put out on West Coast Seattle Boy. Despite repeated work done on this song, it was unlikely to be included on Jimmy's next studio album due to its inclusion on the live Band of Gypsys album. Born out of Jimmy's brief experiences in the armed forces, and boasting a guitar riff that originated during Woodstock-era performances of Hear My Train A-Comin', Machine Gun's legend exists alongside an interesting absence of studio recording attempts. Currently, there are no studio recording releases in the official catalog, with a small handful of live versions released, including on the Band of Gypsys album and Blue Wild Angel live at the Isle of Wight. One studio recording of this Vietnam War protest was released on the infamous Midnight Lightning album. This recording dates from late August of 1969 and features the Gypsy Sun and Rainbows lineup that performed at Woodstock. For its release on Midnight Lightning, producer Alan Douglas wiped the bass, drums, and added new parts, including additional guitar overdubs and vocal parts taken from takes of Isabella that originate from the same sessions. Despite its fame and popularity among Hendrix fans, Machine Gun was unlikely to be included on his next studio album because Jimmy felt that with its release on the live Band of Gypsys album, a studio release would feel stale.